we go. Now it did it. Okay, now we're live. Oh, son of a
Okay.
gun. That was quite a
All right.
process.
Now there's a bit of a delay here.
Hmm.
I know there's like a 15-second delay, so I should be getting you.
Yep.
But for on my end, oh wait, we're going. We are live, and I see you.
Okay, awesome. Okay, for those of you who are waiting and have just joined us, thank you so much. We had some technical difficulties we had to deal with here, but hopefully we've overcome them. And if you could, I'll bring up the live stream here. Give us a 5 by 5 if you have it. Please let us know if you're hearing us okay.
All right, I'm seeing you
Okay, for those of you.
and hearing you just fine through my YouTube channel. But
Okay,
there's only three people. There's only three people. Five people are in.
okay. Gotcha,
Let's
I'm
see how
seeing
many
that.
people are in. Six people in.
Okay, awesome. Okay, you guys who are just joining us, let us know if you can hear the audio okay. That's Erin talking and myself talking. If you could give us a 5 by 5 in the YouTube live chat. 5 by 5 from Vessel. And Jim Costa says hello. Hey, Jim. Okay, sorry for the late start there. A 5 by 5 from TM Scott's Poetry. Hey, it's T.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, now I feel comfortable kind of, just kind of getting us started here. First off, today is Sunday. It's the 31st of May, and welcome to a live stream with our good friend Erin Scott, who's joined us on Discord to talk with us a little bit about. And by the way, this isn't an interview. This is kind of an informal setting. We have plenty of our Discord folks on here as well that will probably make comments and ask questions. But we'd like to talk a little bit about the rioting that's going on, talk a little bit about gold and silver, and maybe a little bit about inflation, and if we have time later on, maybe some gardening stuff. That's something we're all interested in. So I'd kind of like to start it off by saying, Craig put some stuff in the
Shut your
chat here
VPN and get the chair and
um,
pull over.
with the bricks. The bricks. There we go. So I'm enlarging that right now. You guys can see that on your screen there. These loads of bricks that are being dropped off at places where the rioters are. So kind of interesting, huh? So someone's delivering bricks to the rioters. I suppose it's kind of like sending, flowers to your wife at work or something. Here you go, protesters. Here's some bricks. We love you. But
There's no fomenting going on there, is it?
none at all. None at all. And also, the aspects, everyone knows about the riots, Aaron. And by the way, any of you who are listening in right now, feel free to chime in if you'd like to bring in a point to what we're talking about. But with the rioting that's going on right now, the fact that and Aaron, I'm sure you know this, they actually um, they actually aren't using police at this time in Minneapolis. They let them burn down businesses. I mean, they did. They could have had a police presence there. Maybe they felt that there was too big of a mob there, but it seems to me that they're letting it go further, and basically so that they can complete something. This is going to sound really strange, but I think the rioting is hitting a point now where they're waiting for a police officer to get shot, or several police officers to get shot. Maybe so that they could actually start doing some kind of gun control or gun grab or something of that nature. What are your thoughts on that?
I think they just want the civil unrest. I don't, there's a lot of different ways that they could use it to their benefit, but they need to get things heated up,
Yeah, I think
and
so.
it's there. What's happening now? We're obvious by the facts that we're seeing is it's not organic.
Right.
It's inorganic. That there is intentional stuff happening that is intended to try and get more people involved. And I'm not sure, how that's going to work out because, not everybody is up for going out there and destroying stuff. You got to have people pretty pissed off. And I think the not so good powers that want to be are trying to get this thing to where the distraction is in the streets. But I don't think the majority of the regular Americans, the sheeple, are that pissed off yet to get in the streets. I think they're trying to foment things. So instead of having tea, my video stream started getting funky, and so instead of her being on her channel watching and involved, she just pulled up and come sit next to me.
Absolutely. Hey there, T.
Hello.
Yeah, I think what you said, pardon me, and to your point, um, they're wanting it to get worse for sure. They didn't get the kind of rioting or protesting, during the lockdowns that I think they wanted to. And but I've always said too, you're not going to get that kind of rioting until the people are hungry, really hungry, and that's when
Yeah, I
people.
mean,
Go ahead.
it's coming. It's going to come because the economy is crashing, but it's not here yet to where the average person is going to come out of their house yet. Right now, half of the average sheeple are still so scared of this beer bug thing that most of them are staying in their homes. So, you know, it's it's not organic. Like I'm saying, it's not
Yeah,
people really pissed off enough to come stomping out into the streets.
yeah, I agree with you. Go
And
ahead.
T was saying that she was reading something about where these protesters, rioters, are getting paid to do this.
Yep, I'm sure. The same thing has happened before. George Soros has, deep pockets. And it may be more than George Soros. I know we like to blame him because he's been caught up in this several times. But the fact remains that this protest thing has literally taken over the news for COVID. We're not hearing about COVID
Mm-hmm.
anymore. Now it's all the riots. And so
Yep.
it's literally hopping from one foot to the other, keeping people on edge, keeping them scared, frightened. And also, I think pretty much, uh, I mean, serving up an environment where people literally don't mind if the police take over, don't mind if the National Guards are roaming the streets. Because oh boy, God help us all if it comes to my town. We have with us the real vessel who was up in Warrensburg today, Missouri, and apparently there was going to be a protest there, and it turned out to be nothing. It wasn't even worth, recording. But I do want to report on something that did happen in Springfield today, Springfield, Missouri, where a protest actually formed. And what happened was the cops or the deputies, whoever, literally came and joined the protesters. And then suddenly there wasn't anything to protest anymore. They were basically saying, "We stand with you. We believe that this guy that was killed in Minneapolis was wrong. The police should never have done that." And so it kind of just disbanded and everyone went home. I mean, we haven't heard that anywhere else, but that's apparently what happened in Springfield. There's stuff in Facebook about it, which I failed to grab before we started the live stream.
Hey, that's awesome for the cops to join.
Well,
That's
it's,
what we need.
yeah, thank you, Vessel. I think, gosh darn it, I hate to say this, but I think that it's entirely possible that was just a very good political move. To literally
Yeah.
disband them. They wanted to try it and see if it worked, see if it did anything. And it was extremely effective, apparently. The protests got shut down, and, because there was nothing to protest anymore. You always see the protests as a line of protesters and then a line of cops, and they're facing each other, and the protesters are yelling obscenities at the cops. And that's about the extent of
Right.
most of these protests. It's dumb, it's stupid, it's a waste of time, it's a waste of resources on both sides. But if the cops literally just, by the way, the cops, from my understanding, did not have on riot gear. They didn't have on face shields. So they weren't there to, hold off an angry mob in the first place. And they just went and joined, they stood side by side with the protesters. It's kind of unique and definitely different. But I
Yeah,
don't want to,
see,
go
be
ahead.
that easy. It could be that easy, but the problem is a lot of them rather side with the brothers in blue, them versus you.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
And they want to maintain their exceptions.
Yeah. So, uh, but where now? Let's put on our speculation hats now. Let's critically think and try and figure out where we're going from this because there's puzzle pieces for us to put together, Erin. Starts with, and by the way, I hate to do this again because I say this all the time on Truth, Money, Freedom podcast. September of 2019, the repo market starts. That is the biggest puzzle piece that everyone keeps missing. The economy was faltering. It was failing. It was going down.
Yeah, the Fed reversed course in
Yep. And
2019 for the repo market
yep. Okay. Puzzle piece
before
number
COVID.
two. Yep, exactly. Well, we knew then at that point, people like Erin and Chaos Craig and D's Nuts and Timmy Changa, all of us who follow the economy, knew that when they were doing literally overnight lending up to 15-day loans of 250, 300 billion dollars a night to banks, that there was a problem, and it was a serious one. So then the next thing we know, putting together the timeline here, in October there's supposedly these, uh, army games in China in Wuhan, and then supposedly in November the first case of COVID-19, and that's in China in Wuhan.
And we
And
also had event 201 in
thank you.
October.
You're right.
In
You're absolutely right. So we had Event 201, which was directly linked to Bill Gates, Bill and Melinda Gates,
And the
and
World Economic Forum and their COVID action plan.
yep,
Don't forget about that.
yep. But that comes in later. So we have COVID now. We have a lockdown in China, followed by lockdowns in Italy, and lockdowns I'm sorry, Russia locked down the same time China did. Um, so worldwide lockdowns, followed by basically a shutdown of the economy. And pardon me, gang. And after this, what we have is um, this new thing with this, these new racial riots going on. So what Craig was talking about, we're going to do a podcast on, but guys, this is what we expect during a collapse. This is what I'm saying. When the financial system falters, when the dollar is starting to go away, we knew crap like this was going to happen. But what comes next, Erin? I'm sorry, I set you up to tell us your thoughts on what you think is coming up next. I think I threw out there, I think that gun grabs are coming next, but that's my opinion.
I don't think they're going to do gun grabs.
Okay.
I don't think they can, because if that actually, if you get agents of the government to start going door to door to collect guns, we instantly get immersed in a hot partisan war. It will be instant, because I'm gonna tell you what I know about a few good old boys. They said we're not gonna sit back and wait. We'll take them out first.
Mm-hmm.
There were some guys I talked to up in Montana said if that happens, they won't know it hit them.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that's going to happen. Because it doesn't suit what they want in the way of control, the powers that the and I hate using the term deep state, because to me it is only the state, but the psychopaths that are the worst part of the state, the deep state. In order for them to maintain some kind of order out of chaos or control over that chaos, they can't step on certain mines. They can't go through certain minefields. That'd be a minefield that they wouldn't be able to
slow
go.
and steady. It's too much of a jump.
Yeah, they've got to do this. I think the next big thing is coming up with another narrative, because obviously the beer bug didn't work very well, but coming up with some other narrative that is something that they can point the finger at for the wave of bankruptcies and the next wave of economic downturn, because the markets are turning. They are going to go down, and it's about, they did a gut punch to the global economy by shutting everything down. That was a five finger blow right into the groin of the global economy.
Mm-hmm.
And most people haven't realized what it's going to do in the way of bankruptcies and foreclosures and all of that. And we're getting to the point where all of that's starting to process, and they need something for that. Reading the comments here, Kat was talking about, it's about the food. And what I've stated in my videos before is you generally don't see civil unrest within the general population until they get hungry. So the civil unrest that you're thinking you're seeing now is fomenting. It's obviously by, and it's not just one photo of a stack of one pallet of bricks. This is happening in a lot of places. I've seen 4 or 5 of them now, 4 or 5 little clips of, look, there's these bricks here, and that picture that you showed, that was one I hadn't seen before. So somebody is paying for this and is organizing it, and the first name that comes to mind is generally it's Soros kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't know if it's him. For sure, whether it's him. Let me read this. Yeah, no electricity would be a good narrative. I don't know if they can do that. Trib said, by the way, Trib is one of the coolest guys I know.
Sure, Trib's been with us since we started. We love him. Mm-hmm.
Just yeah. He's a good guy. But no, Trib, I don't think they're going to shut the power down. I don't think they can, because we talked about the potential for the fake EMP, where they shut everything down, but they don't actually blow an EMP, but they shut it down and call it an EMP. We talked about it really, because that's, they want to leave the infrastructure intact. They really do, because the moment you pull the plug, you got about 24 to 48 hours to get it back online, or you lose control of the chaos.
Yep.
Well, yeah. Now, and Kat, I think you're referring to what I'm seeing. It's been done before. I think she's referring to the power. Yeah. If we had a natural event, and I've had it before, where when I was living in Virginia, we had ice storms there. There were ice storms here in our area now about 10 years ago, where it takes the power out, but the thing is, people, when they see it as a natural event, they're going, oh, I can work with it. I'll give them a break. I know they'll get my power back. It's not the same thing. If you take it down in a wartime type of mentality, then people are going to go, uh-oh, this is bad. This is going to get bad. It's more of a reality punch, as opposed to, okay, I'll take a little hit because it's nature, and the guys will get out there and they'll fix the lines and stuff like that. You got to understand the mentality of how it works up here in people's heads.
Yep. No, I get you what you're saying with that as well. And there's a lot of aspects to it that I didn't really even consider, because I'm looking at it literally largely from the economic side. We are in the collapse. I mean, this is something even though the mainstream media is denying it, saying, oh my goodness, hey, didn't you know the stock market's going up in the third quarter? You better buy in right now while it's nice and low. Yep. But that's what the mainstream is saying. That's what they're saying. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's not coming back up. And if it does come back up, it'll be with freshly printed cash. It'll make the stock market worthless anyway. So that leads into, and by the way, we could speculate a little bit more about that in a little bit here. But technically, Erin, you're seeing gold and silver look starting to look pretty good. like they're going to actually start going up. But at the same time, and I have lots of stories about this, but buying the physical is very different now from what the paper price is. There's a
Oh
divergence
yeah,
between spot and physical.
most of the prices I've seen out there online and with the dealers that I know, 20, 22, $25 an ounce for
Hmm.
silver.
Yep. And Silver Eagles dig deeper because that's going to be between 27 and 29 per ounce. So the
Because you can't.
yep, it's get in fact the local dealers are getting Eagles in, but they're not getting in rounds. So there's a premium on the Eagles, like I've never seen before since I've started into silver since I was about 15 years old. But the premium on Silver Eagles is pretty exquisite right now. It's pretty high. So this is a new thing. Like I said, we're talking about, basically all these little distractions that are going on right now are meant to divert our attention from what's really happening in the economy. Whether, people literally want to see it that way or just a string of calamities that are happening that are organic. I don't believe that. Um, so basically, what can we expect, do you think, from silver going forward here to the end of the year? I see it going up. I'm not sure it's going to go up above 50 this year. Now, there are others like Bix Weir. He is certain that silver's going to be 600 by the end of the year. I mean, but
Well, I don't know if it'd be 600, but I would wager a portion of my stack that will be over 50.
okay.
Um, here's my thought on it. What was that? Scott Menard. Scott Menard. That video clip of him in Davos being interviewed, and him talking about. They said, ask Scott Menard, what's your investment? He said silver. And then one guy said, well, what do you think it's going to go parabolic like the cryptos? He said, yeah. And they said, this year? He said, yeah.
Hmm.
So parabolic, which means he meant multiple functions, exponential.
Hmm.
That means more than 30, more than 60, probably. Yeah, triple digits. So I've always felt, based on what I've seen technically, that the first major move, when we get that short squeeze and everybody goes to jump in, that first major move takes us up into the $150 an ounce range. Then the manipulators attempt to take it down. That fails, and that we have a Fibonacci retracement that back down to about 70 or 80, and then after that it's completely off to the races.
Okay, gotcha. But remembering, of course, the divergence between the spot price and physical, we've already overcome that resistance. We're above $20 in the physical market right now, even though the spot market is not.
I understand that, but most of the control mechanism is still has a good hold. Not, I mean, it's loosening its grip, but it's a good hold there in the paper trading platforms. It's not gone yet,
Okay.
because there are higher premium, but everybody is still looking at spot.
Yeah.
And until you
Yeah,
can
I
get
suppose.
people looking away from spot,
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And
they
that.
go, okay, well, it's spot. I'm going to put my premium of $10 on it, but they're still looking at spot.
Yep.
Yep.
And that breaks my heart. Mike Maloney is still making videos about spot price too. And he shouldn't. Mike Maloney should be talking about the physical prices that he's finding in local places where he lives. That would, make more sense to me. But I will say this, and Craig is a silver and gold guy too, just like I am, just like you are, Erin. And we are almost at our literally all-time high in gold, even on the spot price. And of course, in the real price, in the physical price, we're above our high. But silver is lagging so severely. I meant you see a lot of economic energy coiled up underneath silver. So silver is going to do something spectacular, in my opinion, just because of that. And I'm not a big guy on talking about the gold and silver ratio. I know a lot of people don't like to use that, but I think it's an important indicator.
Yeah, and like CP No Till talks about, just commented, look at the price on the debt clock. I haven't looked at it. Last I looked at it was probably a week ago, $2,600 on the U.S. debt clock.
Yeah, I think.
That was last I saw.
Yeah, I think I looked at it maybe Wednesday of last week, and it was like $3,065.
On silver?
Yes.
I got to pull that baby.
Yep. Go ahead and pull that up real quick because seeing is believing. The debt clock. And by the way, they've already got gold at 25,000. So yeah, the debt clock is definitely starting to reflect this. And once again, this is M1 money versus how much they're taking out of the ground. The same standard that was used to price it, 1913.
And I'm waiting for it to load.
Okay.
But I'm checking my bandwidth here. That's.
So my price time targets are a bit more conservative. I'm thinking we climb higher, but at a much slower rate.
31.20. Yeah, $3,120.
Yep. And and that once again, M1. This is in a direct. This is directly related to money printing. That's why they're putting these prices on gold and silver. And holy crap, guys! I mean, if we actually sat down and thought about it, we've had 25% inflation in the last 3 months. 25% inflation. It's not showing up in all markets simultaneously, but it's there. So they're printing money.
Still falling.
Yep, and velocity is still falling. It's exactly what Mike Maloney had predicted.
The market psychology hasn't shifted, and the prices of the metals are a reflection of the psychology. So even though the fundamentals are dramatically improving, doesn't necessarily mean that we can expect prices to take off just yet.
Yep.
I think. I'm thinking we trade higher slowly over the coming years into the 30s in the early 2020s, and then I don't even think we hit 50 for. I'm sorry to be a downer, but I think it's just a slow, steady climb, and eventually we'll cross 50 and make our way into the hundreds of dollars. But I just think it'll take over the course of the next decade or longer, possibly.
This is the reset year. But by April of next year, the monetary system won't be the same. This is a reset year. It has to.
I feel like if we soar that high, it just technically in the chart, it just wouldn't make sense. The price would just be so far above moving averages.
But that's what you're talking about, of almost 200 years of suppression. It's a coiled spring, and once this thing goes, let's put it this way. I agree with you on that they're going to hold it as long as they can. What I don't agree with you on is it climbing slowly. When they lose control, when it gets lost, it's gonna be the fastest moving. I mean, it's gonna make a lot of the cryptocurrencies look bad.
I hope you're right.
Me too.
But yeah, I just don't know.
Well,
to me, technically in the chart, a move like that would be unprecedented.
Yeah,
but that's the point. That's the point.
That's once again what Erin's been saying here, the reset year. That's important. We've not had that before in the American experience.
We have, but not in a digital era where the rate of speed of everything is the speed of light because of the click of a mouse.
Yeah, true. So I expect something like that will happen too. And I hate to use the ratio between gold and silver as a primer for it, but you almost have to at this point. It's pretty crazy.
Silver is the only commodity that's down from 1980.
Yep, that's correct. Silver is the only one. That's correct.
It's the only one that's posted major, like it's down in the red big too. It was $50 in 1980. it's like down 75% from that. Today, that's something.
Well, I do see gold definitely, even in the paper market, going above 2,000 here real quick. In fact, we're looking at Asia Open tonight. Not that it's going to hit 2,000 tonight on the paper market, but it's going up. And the LVMA and the COMEX expiry is over for May, so they always let it climb up just a little bit in the beginning, before they start trying to hammer it down. But there's a lot of geopolitical events going on that destabilizing events happening, especially in the United States, and we're supposed to be, the ones that everyone trusts. They can keep their money here and it's safe because we have a stable government. Not so much anymore.
It's everything that we're going to see over the next year to 2 years is going to be spectacular beyond belief.
Hmm. And I wanted to actually talk to you about one aspect of the stock market with you, Erin. Because I'm in agreement with you, and once again, it's a critical thinking process that brings me to this point. I'm sure, like it did you. But a lot of people think the stock market's just going to go up and up and up and up because they're going to print money and stuff it in there. But how on God's
Well,
green earth are they going to steal wealth if they keep
they
putting
can't.
it? Go ahead.
The main reason why I don't think that we're going to go higher in the stock market is because this is a global reset. This is not one country resetting against the world that has a sound system where you can allow that one currency to inflate like that. When we do this reset, we've heard from way too many sources in way too many different theaters, choose that word, from the IMF to the BIS to there's a lot of sources of data. Like I was talking with one of the other guys here in the room about, after a while, when you've been doing so much research for after a while, you get this thing called a gut feeling, and you don't need to dive into it too deep. All you need to do is hear just enough of it to get a feel for what is being said. And that's your Jedi intuition.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And we are at a point where we have to fully, completely destroy the old system. And there's a lot of aspects I agree with in the way Big Square talks about. You got to trash the first one. And I think that's part of why a lot of these things are being done. Now, whether it's being done for what reason and for who to maintain power, with the formation of the civil unrest, I don't know. What I do know is somehow or another, this system is gotta be flushed down the toilet.
Mm-hmm.
Completely. And the only way that you're going to do that is to totally trash it in the eyes of all the people who have belief in it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can still go to the store and use this dollar bill. So in order to go into a new system, which I know we have to because there's enough people who have said it from all different ways, from the treaties that we've seen signed in hundreds of countries doing business outside of the dollar, to the stuff that we see in the gold markets, to the Basel III. If you read Basel III and Basel IV, all the steps that they're making towards moving into going right back to gold, all has to fulfill itself in a very short time frame, simply because this is a global thing. And again, remember, I've made that point with you, Patrick, and I've even said it on my channel quite a bit. If you are the power that want to be and you want to maintain control, even if there's chaos, you have to do it in such a way that you don't lose control yourself. And there is a certain level of civil unrest, social unrest, war, whatever you call it, that you can't get to. Because after a while, it's a snowball that feeds on its own energy.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to maintain control, You have to let it get just painful enough for most of the sheeple to go, I want help. You can't let all the sheeple fill the streets, because then that's over. Then you can pretty much guarantee we're going full Mad Max.
Yep.
And I think the elite know that. So they've got to put this show on for everybody enough to change their belief systems, but not enough that where they can lose control of the chaos. And that's a delicate balance. And I don't know how well it's going to be pulled off, if it can be pulled off.
Yeah,
So,
and that's kind of goes to my point too. I mean, the gun control measures have been very important. They've been trying to do this for a long time, and by they, I'm talking about certain circles of power in Washington. Gun control is their thing. That's what they want. So I wonder how much longer until they actually. And right now, there's gun control measure bills in the House of Representatives right now. You know.
Yeah. Enforce them. Let's see if they can get enforced. That's the question.
Yep.
Do they come to people's doorsteps? They can write a law if they want to.
Yeah,
remember,
but if they've got the National Guard out there, putting down these riots, they've already got the manpower out there to start confiscation, right?
Well,
Partially, at least in the cities.
I think remember, we're talking about the good the good people, the of our country, the better people of our country, not the people who are stupid enough to go out there and get paid to protest. We're talking about the people like you, the people like me. Because here's the thing, I don't think you're going to get more enlisted people to come door to door.
Yeah.
That would be the presumption of, okay, we got the National Guard out there and they're keeping these people down. Well, let's turn them and go down this street and start collecting guns. That's an entirely different world. I don't think you're going to see that happen without a knee-jerk response from you and me going, don't.
Yeah.
You see where I'm going?
They could ban the sale and then just wear you out over the course of decades, and munitions and guns become scarce over time.
Decades doesn't apply here. This is starting to happen at fast speed.
If it goes hot, if this thing goes hot between the real hardcore patriotic blood type, like us folks, if this thing goes hot, this ain't going over decades. Half the population in this country will be dead in 9 months, if not quicker.
So, what about that Deagle website?
Okay.
This brings us around to that. Is that based on anything real, or because?
Erin, are you familiar with the Deagle website he's referring to?
Yeah, and how they are forecasting for the population to be a whole lot less.
Yeah, especially in the United States.
I don't know who puts it up and what's their motives. I mean, yeah, it's scary stuff to put, but who really put all that data up? And
how do they get it? How do they get that result?
Yeah.
Oh, I can think of a lot of ways to get that result really quick. Shut the power grid down. You shut the power grid down, 30 days later, there's going to be a lot less people in this country.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's one way.
But I don't think they can do that. That's what I'm saying. My gut feeling tells me that if they did that, they would not be able to exist in this world, because too many people will be going door to door, surviving zombified that way.
Yep. Hey, if you don't mind, let's give a little bit of love to our folks on YouTube. And Deez, let us know if anyone's typing in any questions, comments inside the welcome room text. But let's see. Gosh darn it, I have to scroll back a bit. Erin, thank you, by the way, for reading some comments from people on YouTube. I was kind of remiss in that.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I got a question. Sure. Jimmy, you say you disagree. What aspect do you disagree?
Okay, Jimmy D. There we go.
Joe asked one question: Is there a lag in money printing for inflation?
Is there a lag of money printing for what, Deez?
Inflation.
Yeah.
Oh, no, the lag in money printing, actually, interestingly enough, um, what is it? Erin, do you know the numbers on how much went to corporations versus how much went to people in the first bailout that we had, where we had the $1,200 checks? Because there
Yeah,
was a,
most of it went to the corporations. I don't know the exact percentage, but most of it went to the corporations. And then there's you gotta look at what is being done for the theft,
yep,
because you remember, you understand what we're talking about is a financial theft
right,
of the remaining wealth of the middle class and the poor.
right,
And in order to do that, they have to change all the valuations. So what are they going to do? We need to go into the deflationary period before we go into hyperinflation.
Right. And that's what
In
I'm
order,
saying.
yeah, there's two different mindsets on what is hyperinflation. Well, technically, with them printing money out of their asses like they are, that
yeah,
is
they are.
the increase of the money supply, but it's not in circulation. And until it gets into circulation, you can't have hyperinflation, because if I ain't got two nickels to rub between my fingers, I can't pay $100 for a loaf of bread. So I got to be able to pay $100 for a loaf of bread.
Hmm.
So it has to get into circulation. That's coming, I think, unless they do a full on.
They need more helicopter money to get the velocity to start to turn higher.
Exactly. And there was a period of time I used to talk about it on my channel a lot, about the velocity of money, which is going down, 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 down.
Hmm.
Still going down. So I don't think we could get the hyperinflationary spark until that starts to turn up. And right now
And
we're still going down.
I think the elite are setting up for the sale of the millennia. The sale of the, they want everything crashed so they can buy it all up
Yep,
cheap.
Yeah, Federal Reserve's doing that right now, worldwide.
yep. And welcome to
Oh,
Mike
I'm
from
back,
Maine.
by the way.
Yep, welcome, Mike.
Over an hour without internet. It's excruciating. Well, it's life in Colorado.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I need is a chart of Weimar Germany velocity overlaid with money supply. That's what I'm looking for. Does anybody know where I could find something like that?
The Fed's website, St. Louis Fed. You go in there and you can look it up on their website. Where Mike Maloney gets all his charts, and I've gotten those charts. You go right on the Fred.
Right. I have those. I'm talking about the historical charts of Weimar Germany.
Oh, of what for Weimar? I think you're just gonna have to Google them and see if you can come up with them. They're hard to find.
I know, but I think that might give us a good idea of what we're looking at here.
What they did, they're giving trillions to corporations, and what did they give us? It was that $1,200 to everybody amounted to what, $38 billion that we get to share between 300 million people, and corporations get trillions to bail them out.
Yeah, we get like some peanuts and pittances, and then they take out 60 grand on our credit card, give us $1,200, take 58,000 for themselves.
That's why I got rid of all my credit cards in 2002. Got rid of every one of them. All I got are debit cards now.
Okay, I just put a link in the live chat on YouTube for Erin Scott's channel. For those of you who are Truth, Money, and Freedom folks, please check out her channel. It's an awesome channel. I'm not ending right now. I'm just letting you know that there is a link right now. Please go sub at Erin's channel, especially in today's day and age. She kind of has a channel that kind of caters to what we're going through right now. Everything from prepping to how to do your garden, chickens even. But not only that, she's a chartist. And Chaos Craig's our resident chartist. But we really, really do like when people chart stuff. I mean, there's a lot of good information there, the technicals. But please do check out Erin's channel while you're here. And I just put the link up so you guys can get that from YouTube. So
so
go ahead.
so you know, my focus is changing. You know, I'm due to the censorship that we've been dealing with on YouTube. You know, it's we're at a point where getting into certain topics and data and using words and that their algos don't like. It's just not. It's not conducive to you surviving as a YouTube channel if you do certain things anymore, because they censor you, they take you down. And then again, my channel was taken down, and you know there were some very very hard hitting videos I did earlier this year, very in your face punching videos, and I think that's a very very strong reason as to why my channel got taken down the way it did.
Yeah.
Made to look like a hacker, but like I said, there's too many things that I saw that I didn't explain that were no. Standard hackers don't do this kind of thing. You know, oh no, wait a second. If I was attacking, why would I go through all this extra effort to do this? Why are these things happening on my computer? I mean, there was a lot of backdoor crap happening.
Yeah. Hackers usually don't like to leave footsteps. No footprints. You never know they were there, you know. This was deliberate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Agreed.
and so I want to be a part of the solution, and I know what the solution is, and the solution is being off the game board as much as possible, because the more you're on the game board, because we're talking about the Monopoly game board, right? You know, they've shown us this game and all the stuff that they do, you know, the game of life, the game of Monopoly, and right now, you don't want to be on Park Place. They're rioting in Park Place.
Yeah.
You know, you want to be out here in the country as far away as you can, and you don't want to have to go to the grocery store, because why? You really want to eat that shit they're pumping full of chemicals and hormones and GMOs and all that stuff? You want that in your body? You know, so we came from a homesteading mentality. We in this country, most of us in this country, our bloodline is from the people who cut through here with, you know,
well, you know, most of our ancestors it was an agrarian society. People got dragged off the farms in World War I. Half of them never went back. World War II happened. They got dragged off the farms again and never went back.
So, you know, that's learning how to save seeds. You know, that's one of my big things. Or learning how to grow a garden. It's a knowledge that was lost.
It's just like canning.
And it's actually canning of food preparations. You know, and let's put it this way: with all of these restaurants that have shut down and are shutting down, is that really a bad thing?
Probably not.
I'm just, you know, maybe it's not.
Hey, Jimmy D did come back and answer your question. He said something about the powers that be will take us down. That's
I responded to him.
okay. Gotcha. Okay.
Just above your post, I said they may, and you know, I wouldn't put it past the powers to be to try and turn the order followers against us, and you know, it's possible. Yeah. I mean, we've seen it played out in a lot of different movies.
Sure. Or at the very least, just, you know, set some examples. Possible. You know, hey, you don't want to play ball with us, you know, you die. And then the people start seeing that. It's like in China. It's the way they keep everyone in line in China. They do use examples.
Yeah. But eventually, there is a survival mechanism in you and me and many of the folks that are in this conversation that are going, you know what, screw that. We got to take them out before they take us out. And it's the moment. See, that's what happened. That's what's in our blood. That's what we're talking about. That, you know, came into this country. The people who came here and, you know, settled it and built across it. It was that DNA that we have. That, you know, little bits and pieces from all different social structures of, you know what, I want to be left alone. I'm going to go, and that's why we had the the Revolutionary War. I mean, that's why a group of men, whether they're, call them the, the
rich
Freemasons, but,
rich landed slave owners. Yeah.
Hey, Trip Pepper says silver is climbing. Good to see that.
All right,
We thought
Asia
it would
Open.
open up higher.
There we go. That's where Mike from Maine goes to work there. He'll be watching the Asian
all
markets.
About Asia Open.
Yep.
Well, we had an internet outage, so yeah.
And for those of you who missed the earlier part of this, we were talking about silver on the U.S. debt clock. And Erin looked it up, and I haven't looked it up since last Wednesday. Erin, you say it was $3,100 now?
Yeah, 3,120 when I looked at it a few minutes ago.
Okay, gotcha. And did you happen to look at gold while you were looking at that?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Last time I looked
T
at...
said it was about 20.
Yeah, 25 grand. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 25,000.
So for those of you who don't know, on the U.S. debt clock, what they're doing is they're actually showing you how they priced silver 100 years ago. And it was based on the M1 money supply, or the money that's being printed, versus how much silver or gold is taken out of the Earth's crust every year. And if they use that same formula that they did in the 1913, 1920 time frame, that's how much gold and silver would be in today's dollars, including inflation. So there we go. I mean, gold and silver have a very shiny future, I believe. Very shiny future. And Erin, I can't stress enough the importance of first of all, I want to comment on a video you made a while back, and you haven't re-uploaded it. And that's the one where you talked about your stock portfolio. And you took us to your garden, and you were showing us your cabbage ETFs and your radish money markets. That was one of the best videos. My wife and I absolutely loved it. And the point was not lost on us. That's a better investment than anything paper, is literally growing stuff in your backyard. If you don't mind, can we talk a little bit about inflation a little bit? Because it's actually starting to hit. Everyone who goes to the grocery store is starting to see it now. It's real. Even though we predicted it would come last year. Go ahead.
However, I want to throw a caveat in there. I think the inflation that we're seeing is corporate driven right now, and not necessarily a function of inflation, because money's coming into the system. I think this is corporations going, okay, can't do it this way, I'm going to raise my prices. There's problems here, I'm going to raise. I think it is corporate driven right now.
Mm-hmm. But and you may be 100% correct, but it still is inflation. Any way you look at it, because the consumer will pay more for it.
Well, they're betting that in the future it's going to cost more.
Yep,
like,
that's correct.
Right now, pork and beef.
But
they don't know where the supply is coming from, so they're charging you more.
Yeah, but I mean, Mike, look at it this way: the cost of gasoline is down. You would think groceries would come down. That's the first thing affected when gas goes up.
Yeah,
and it's
it's back up again. It's above $2 a gallon now here in Colorado.
Okay, gotcha. But I'm expecting inflation to start rearing its ugly head here this summer. So I would like to stress the importance of people literally starting the practice of growing their own food, learning how to grow your own food, learning how to can. You know, these are very basic things. And if you're in an apartment, get some pots, put them on your balcony. You know, do something. You know, shave a little bit off that food budget if you can. So,
raise some chickens.
Yep. So that's just my opinion, and I think it's really important that people should do this. And I hate to say this again because I say it so often, but if you guys who are listening right now haven't dipped your toes into gold and silver yet, and I'm talking physical here, not ETFs, not paper, you really need to do that.
Right now.
Yep, you really need to consider doing that sooner than later. I mean, you need to start collecting now, getting into your gold and silver. I'm sure everyone, Mike, would be in agreement. And go ahead, Erin.
I doubt anybody in this group hasn't. I would wager anybody who's watching and listening all have done some.
Sure.
And then I would also add that if I was wrong and somebody hadn't, or even if somebody in this group still wanted to collect some, don't think that $25 an ounce is too expensive. If I had extra money that I wasn't going to be putting into fencing or buying this and stuff for the homestead, if I had extra money that I could buy silver with, I wouldn't hesitate to pay $25 an ounce right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I put my stimulus check into gold right away. They get more gold.
That's a great use, and that's also a finger in the eye of government, Mike. I love it. So yeah, that's definitely the way to do it.
Short money velocity.
Yep, that's right. Yep. Thank you for the $1,200. I'll just turn it into gold. But
yeah, that's what I did. Rumpelstiltskin. Yeah.
Yeah. Well
so,
done.
Erin, what do we think of Bitcoin?
I like its functionality. I don't like the fact that most of the data says it was created by the CIA. I dislike the fact that it is a detractor of money going into the metals. I think there's several people that are high enough up there that I'm in very much want to agree with their opinions that cryptos were created to divert money away from gold and silver.
Yep.
What about Monero?
I haven't paid attention to any of the cryptos as far as what they're for and all that anymore. I've backed off of them. Yes, I still held a couple of Litecoin and things that were donated to me, but I want to wait till the reset. I've got real money, and if cryptocurrencies are the currency of the future, fine. I'll get some after the reset.
Okay.
Yep. It's still an excellent.
Silver.
Go ahead, Mike.
1806 on silver right now.
Yep, 1806.
Let it go.
1738 gold.
Oh,
so
no.
from open.
Go ahead, Erin.
I like man pig bear there. Gold nugget cherry tomatoes. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
July futures, 1869.
Yep. And if anyone missed it, there was a great.
Up, I think.
Sorry about that, Craig. If anyone had missed it, there was a great story on Zero Hedge about 540. I think it was 540 tons of gold was delivered to the COMEX literally in the month of May because they didn't have enough gold to cover their GLD. So apparently, someone's starting to watchdog this group.
Tons.
300 tons.
300 tons of that came from Australia in kilobars.
Okay. So
the Australian Mint was the only game in town over the whole planet. They had an order for 300-something tons to go to New York as soon as possible.
Well, then, can anyone speak to the convertibility of GLD into physical metal? Is that possible?
Where some of them bars were going, the GLD.
Okay. Okay, so I was wondering.
And SLV.
Okay, well, actually, no, they've not done anything with silver yet. That was the point of the article, is that they're still trying to source silver right now to basically backstop SLV. They're backstopping GLD right now, gang. So they're getting gold in large quantities. We've never had this much gold shipped to the United States in such a short period of time before. So HSBC, well, I think they're the custodian of GLD. So
yeah, they are.
Okay, so JP Morgan is the custodian of SLV. And let's see if we get large shipments of silver coming in. And my bet is it's not going to happen. They just don't have it. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
In the quantities we're talking about here. Go ahead.
I think the fundamentals are going to weigh on the silver market this year. Finally, I think the fundamentals, the and all that. I want to respond to RM. He says, I can send you BTC within 5 minutes. How long will it take me to get your gold and silver? When it comes to cryptos, I like the functionality of it. But because we have not gone through a reset of the valuation, I want to let the fires burn and the floods happen. I want to wait and see what it looks like when the dust clears. Not that I'll dislike the functionality. There's a few precious metals backed cryptocurrencies that are out there they may be the way to go. I could see using cryptos because we're in a technological era, but
Portability, divisibility.
Yep, and you can divide digits on a computer to infinity.
Yep. But also too, I mean, and by the way, I hold some crypto as well, so full disclosure. But trying to send Bitcoin when your regional electricity system is down is going to be quite difficult. So that is something that a lot of people need to consider too. And I'm not talking necessarily about EMPs. We could be talking about an ice storm. An ice storm hits your area, and then there's no electricity for 50 miles. Your Bitcoin will not serve you well in that condition. However, your local hardware store may be very happy to take your silver so you can get a few items that you need.
There's pros and cons in any system. Nothing's perfect. I can come up with you coulda, shoulda, have this problem in every scenario. The real thing is coming up with a system that you can trust. And right now, the best one you can trust is if you don't hold it, you don't own it. And that's the biggest, that's why gold and silver have been there forever.
To your point, Erin, literally in the last year, we've seen so many cryptocurrencies go out of business, get closed down by their local authorities because they were not playing by the rules. And people who had money on those, had cryptocurrency on those exchanges lost everything. And you're not hearing about that. You hear about Mt. Gox that happened, it was 2014, but you're not hearing about Cryptopia out of New Zealand that shut down last year and took everyone's money with them. You're not hearing about that. And there's others too. Cryptopia is probably one of the bigger ones.
My biggest complaint is it's too hard to use. It's too hard to, you got one wallet, you got 20, 30 different types of cryptos. You're going to lose some somewhere. You got to have either a passphrase or this or that. You lose your wallet, you lose your key phrase. Somehow you get hit in the head, you wake up, you don't remember your key phrase, and then the thing is, it's in the ether, it's not there, it's not real. I can't hold it in my hand.
Well, that's the psychology of it. Go ahead.
It's complicated. It's complicated to use. It's easier to take a debit card, pop it in a machine, I want $500.
But it can be that easy.
It can be that they choose not to do it yet.
Yeah, but it's still not that point yet.
I mean, the internet wasn't easy to use at first either, and it was something just computer nerds did. And,
well, for people of my generation, it's just too much. It's easier to stick a debit card in the ATM or to pay with your debit card.
Sure.
But
too complicated for them,
But I think a healthy attitude, or at least a healthy perspective on this, is to assume that when this wealth transfer does happen, Erin, for instance, and I'm talking about the bond market wealth transfer because the stock market's small compared to the bond market. When that wealth transfer does happen, it's definitely going to go into gold and silver. And some of it will probably go into crypto as well. So I've always kind of seen crypto as a hedge.
Because crypto's such a tiny cap.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
it's just a very asymmetric upside because it only has to get a little trickle of that imploding bond market. Just some of the overflow from the gold bucket would be plenty enough to propel the price significantly higher.
Yeah. So let me respond here. RM says, agree with you. I also have silver, but if you hold something physically, someone can take it from you. Those are exchanges. Look, you can say this about anything. Again, like I said, everything's going to have its crux. I mean, how many people have lost gold and silver coins in the past? I mean, that's what they made at metal detectors for, right? So you go around and find it in the ground. You can lose anything. There's no guarantees.
Yeah, and getting your gold across borders and on the plane, and or you lose, and then crypto with no power and no electricity. So you get both, and then you're covered. In a world where you don't have electricity, and you're covered in a world where you need to get out of the country, and you can't get your physical metal out with you, right?
Well, if they're sovereign coins, it's easier with a face value.
Yeah, but they could change those laws any which way anything they feel like doing. They could just turn around and say, oh, we're changing it. It's no longer the face value.
Well, the laws are.
It's the total value, and the cap is at $10,000, and a loaf of bread is at $10,000. So now, you can't move anything.
The laws are currently the way they are because that's the way the elite are moving their money around. That's what the elite want. They want to be able to cross into Canada with a pocket full of gold and say, oh, they're only $50 face value.
It's a lot of risk.
I'm only walking across the border with $500.
You got to trust that the NSA is going to, not just steal it from you, right? We've all had luggage and things out of our luggage stolen.
Well,
you have no rights when you go in the airport, and you're basically just at their mercy. So, if you have a cryptographic key stored in your memory, you can get across the border with a lower risk, and
there's that.
Okay.
You don't get hit in the head.
I'll tell you what, gang. Erin was nice enough to give us a little bit more time than she actually had to give us. So I want to say thank you very much to you, Erin, for joining us tonight.
You guys are my community. I mean, why not?
Absolutely.
Oh, sorry, I missed 3/4 of it.
That's all right, Mike. Mike, once again, he's tied in with Manico 64 and is a mod for him. But
I missed that too.
Yeah. So, but Erin, before we close out and everything, what are your predictions on what we could see in the next few days with this rioting stuff that's going on? Just speculation, if you will. Is it going to get worse, or is it going to get better? Is it going to be about the same, or are they going to bring out? They're going to roll out, for instance, the National Guard in states. Or are they going to take the military out, military police?
That's a lot of stuff to think about. Things are going to continue to get worse. The question is how fast. And what I've been looking for is the next narrative, the next event, because we got another wave. Like I said, we got another wave of financial shit that's going to hit the fan here pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And something's got to be the narrative. I don't know what it's going to be for sure, but I do know we're about ready to. We're getting to that point. And then I thought it was going to be this last week when things got hot, but as we're seeing with the stuff that's happening in the cities around the country now, there's 30-something cities that have unrest in them,
Mm-hmm.
or more. So I'm not sure what it's going to be, but something else has to happen, and it depends upon who's in control of what as to what that is. Now, do we all of a sudden finally get declassification? And because there's a whole lot of testimony that's supposed to take place in Congress this next week, if that happens, what other things are done to distract the general population from that?
Well, my big fear is they're going to take us to a shooting war somewhere.
I don't know what that event is going to be, because I would be willing to bet that there are multiple people in multiple directions that have their own ideas and plans.
Agendas, yeah.
And agendas, there's all, because you got, that's why I prefer chaos theory, because chaos theory says we all are individuals and we could all make a choice to do something different. And when you got all of these governors that are psychopathic, when you got all these people in high corporations that are psychopathic, when you got all of these people around our world that are psychopaths, you never know who could hit the big red button. Right. And that could happen at any time.
Yep.
And they're all psychopaths. That's how they all got to where they are.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
So I don't know what it's going to be, but I know it's going to continue to heat up, because we're just getting started.
Yeah.
We're really just getting started.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think we're going to finish this thing for quite a few years. I think we got most of this next decade that is going to be biblical in magnitude.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. There's going to be a big war. No doubt about it.
Yep. Like,
Well, I think we're already in that. I don't think we're going to be. I don't think we're going to go into a full-on World War III shooting war where we all get a bunch of troops together, go to a battlefield, and shoot each other. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm not saying there won't be little battles between a couple of countries, but I don't think there's one, because we would destroy each other.
what about the tensions between us and China, Erin? You know, with Taiwan and Hong Kong.
Uh,
You know,
I
if we
don't
look at the timeline in the Great Depression that started in 1929, and World War II didn't really happen until 1945. So you know, we could easily be in a depression until 2035 before we're ready for a World War III with China. You know?
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, I can't even begin with that. That's beyond my
the range that we can currently see at the moment.
Yeah,
so obviously we'll monitor the whole thing as we get there. But you know, it's something to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, I think we're most of what we're going to have to deal with, you and me, sitting in our homes right now. Most of what we're going to have to deal with is the shutdown of the distribution system as we know it. Stuff that we used to be able to go to the stores and get isn't going to be there.
Yep.
The cost of those things and your ability to navigate your financial situation. Those of us who are reasonably out in the country, to some extent, will stay away from most of it. I'm not saying all of it, but most of it for now. See how things go in the next 12 months to see how far it creeps out of the city limits.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on that, Erin.
Yeah, the suburbs. I was right here on the line.
Hey, Craig, we're losing you,
I didn't
buddy.
get any of that.
Sorry, I was surprised to hear we have riots here on Long Island.
Oh, Long Island is having protests. He was talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're everywhere now.
Or riots.
I don't know. I'm gonna try to get some more details later.
Okay. Well, any way you slice it, we're in an interesting point in time right now. It's anyone's guess. None of us saw, well, most of us didn't see COVID as an excuse to go ahead and start dismantling the financial system. We knew it was dismantling, though, by the repo market. We knew that we hit the end, and they had to do some really strange, funky stuff to keep the whole system propped up for a little bit longer. So
the question is, did the Fed reverse course in 2019, cut rates 3 times, and reverse QT and begin QE to buy enough time to make it to the election, or were they doing it to buy enough time to make it to the virus?
Oh, it was to get past the election. Yeah.
Well, that's what I thought, but I don't know now.
Yeah, I don't know.
I like that theory. I like that theory. Enough time to get to the virus.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of.
And the shutdown. I like that. I do like that theory, and maybe it, because I didn't see us making it past December.
Yeah.
With all the repo stuff. So I like that theory. That's a good theory. Enough time so that the narrative of the virus could make it around.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So what comes next is anyone's guess, but we know we have pretty good riots coming.
More? I'll just say more.
Yeah, more.
More?
Mm-hmm.
Last September I was driving a harvest truck up in Maine, potatoes, and all the drivers are retirees. And I said, hey, guys, hear about this repo window that's going to stay open? They're like, well, repo what?
Yeah,
and I explained to them, and they said, is it going to hit my 401k? I said, well, I don't know, but it's not good. Oh, well, I don't care whatever they do with that whatever window it is. As long as I got my 401k and my retirement check, I don't care what happens.
Yep.
See, so that's the prevailing
basically,
attitude.
People don't understand,
Right.
And I tried to explain, that this was not going to end well, and they're like, whatever,
Yeah, They won't understand until they see it, and the
I'm,
problem is that they
yeah.
may never see it because they might just backstop it.
Well, it was painfully obvious to us at Truth, Money, and Freedom, Aaron, that the repo market signaled that we hit the end, that it was
Not even
serious.
that. It was earlier than that. That
Well,
was all
Oh,
the way in
well, yeah,
September.
yeah,
We saw that they were reversing course in March
yep.
2019 at the fourth quarter 2018 crash, and then the about face and reverse course from
yeah.
the last rate hike from 2.25 to 2.5. That was when we marked. That's pretty much where I pretty much said checkmate.
Yeah. Well,
Mm,
what I'm talking about
Yeah.
specifically is the printing of money to keep the banks, floating, to keep them alive. Because the reversal, of course, for the interest rates didn't help the banks at all. They knew they were going to be in trouble after that, but that's when it signaled that the time has come. The banks are in trouble, and we're going to have to print money forever to keep these banks going. That's what the repo market kind of
well, that's
signaled
what.
to me.
Yeah, that's what I was telling these other truck drivers. The banks are in big trouble. Oh, not my bank.
Yeah. But there were
They
signs
didn't
even
care.
before that. We had the
Sure.
yield curve
Oh
inversion, we
yeah.
had the course
Yeah.
reversal, and we had been trending towards inversion for 7 years. So, it was, I don't think the repo market in and of itself is the most important leading indicator. There was lots of things.
Well, it was a
So,
slow motion train wreck until the virus. Yeah.
so
Yeah, so
what?
now the virus takes all our credit.
Go ahead, Aaron.
So what I think happened in September was, uh, in September, when because I was doing some charting videos, and I showed that all the different chart formations had played out. There was no other charting formation that they could come up with to give all the people that are in the markets a technical indicator that everything was okay.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was painting itself to the downside. And what I think the repo market being pumped up and saved was the final nail in the coffin of financial confidence within a lot of your standard money market people, the people who live in the banking system.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the final clue that this game is over.
Yep.
It was a signal for one last year. The Fed's going to do one last buyout. Everybody who's in the know better sell out between now and whenever. I think that was a signal, and that's when you saw a shift in the confidence in a lot of people who were, oh no, Fed's got it, da 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 da. Oh, Fed's got it,
Yeah.
but they got
Yeah.
yeah.
The long con is over.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was important. It was an important indicator for, I guess, a lot of other people, but we were there long before.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people. Yeah, you're talking about the herd, the crowd, the majority of the people go, oh no, this is good, it's all going good, it's all going. Wait a second, they're printing billions a night.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, hundreds of billions. And in one night was $1 trillion. $1 trillion in one night. No kidding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In the repo market.
And of course, they have to keep, renewing all of them,
Correct.
monetizing all these as they mature, because it's all short term, and they have to stay at the short end forever now because of the, Operation Twist. And
Yeah. Well,
so,
my assertion has always been that they weren't buying treasuries. What they were buying was toxic assets in all their forms. It didn't have to be
yeah,
CDOs
Yeah.
or mortgage-backed securities. They were probably buying worthless paper of all kinds. That's
they
my.
were.
Go ahead.
corporate
That's,
bonds.
that was the fire hose to put out whatever flames were popping up.
Yep.
Yep.
That's because these things were going to zero that were stuffed into these pension funds, in my opinion. If you want a direct reason why the banks started doing, or I'm sorry, the Federal Reserve started the repo market, in my opinion, was because pension plans were about to fail, not just in this country but worldwide, because they have a bunch of paper garbage stuffed in these pension
Yep.
funds. And
they
had to
were the
keep them
ones buying
moving. They
these.
had to get them moving in the system again so they would become relevant and have value. That's what I think. And now they're saying they're buying treasuries, and I'm sure they're buying a little bit of treasuries, so that's a correct statement. But I think the vast majority of what they're buying is paper garbage.
Yeah, and then Deutsche Bank this month, at the beginning of the month, they asked their top 1,000 executives to work for free for the month of May.
That's right. Did you hear about that, Erin?
And give up their bonuses. That's like the captain of the Titanic yelling abandoned ship.
It is. It's pretty good when they're asking all the Deutsche Bank executives to work for free for a month. That actually tickled my funny bone.
And give up their bonuses on
Yep.
top of their pay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not enough that they've shut down 3/4 of their banking system worldwide. Now they need the remaining people to take pay cuts and work for free to keep that bank afloat. So I agree.
There's a lot of moving parts. Yeah.
You know, I agree with Erin, and I want to say this again publicly. I think the stock market's going to go down. And I know there's a lot of folks on YouTube saying the stock market's going to go up, 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 up because they're printing money, right? But how could you steal the wealth from the middle class if you let that market continue going up? You've got to crash it first, and then they'll come in and buy it. They'll gobble it up when they can get it for, 2 cents on the dollar. So the market's hard. Go ahead.
Bingo.
Yep.
Bingo.
So
right now, the insiders are selling all their shares, while it's the retail mom and pop investor that's buying it.
Well, also,
it's going to be a good value.
Yeah, the Federal Reserve is dumping money in there too, Mike. Don't forget that. And they're buying corporate bonds right now.
Oh yeah.
So the Fed is starting to buy up
the Central
everything.
Bank of Japan owns like more than 50% of their ETF.
80%.
New eyes, so so it could just be a bucket in the wind.
Yep, that's true. The Bank of Japan actually owns 80% of all the equity markets in Japan, for those of you who didn't know. That's a startling statistic, but it's easily verifiable.
And the market's down 50% 30 years later in nominal dollar terms, and 95% in terms of gold.
Okay,
so they've been doing it 30 years now. Yep.
So hey, Craig, let me finish my thought here for a second.
Maybe it doesn't.
Okay. The Federal Reserve could do the same thing. They can come in and buy up 80% of all of our stock market too. But I don't think they will. Not right now. We've got to have a crash so they can go ahead and clean out the middle class. It's all about cleaning out the middle class right now, as far as the stock market goes.
Well, they don't want to pay. They don't want to pay full price. They want to pay like Warren Buffett, as cheap as they can.
Yeah, that's what they do. So we could definitely expect a market crash. We don't have a timing for it. Go ahead, Erin.
I think we're close.
Yeah, they got to do the revaluations, but I want to turn the topic just a little bit. When we were talking about my portfolio, while I've got everybody's attention in here, I do a portfolio report on my channel now. It's a new thing for those who may not know about it. I ask for all of you to send in to me photos of your stock acquisitions, your stock placements, your portfolios, as they refer to your garden. In other words, send me your pictures, your garden pictures, because what we're going to do is, take a look at how everybody's stuff is growing, and our portfolios are going to be going up while everybody else's are going down. And then we're going to be able to cash in on our investments later this summer and this fall. And some of us are already cashing in on our investments out there in the dirt. So I've got a thing on my channel. I want everybody to Portfolio to email me pictures of their gardens so that we can see how everybody's gardens are doing. Encourage everybody to get stuff planted in pots or in the dirt or whatever.
And thank you for the parade of gardens.
The crazy ones.
And I thank you, Erin, for the parade of gardens, because it does, I think, serve to inspire folks that think, oh, geez, I can't do this. It's too big, or it's too difficult, or I don't have enough room. And all of these things can be easily conquered. Even if you're in a small apartment building, you've got a balcony, most likely. You can actually, and Erin, have you ever done this before? You take like a 5 gallon bucket and you plant about 25, 30 carrots in the 5 gallon bucket. There's
Yeah.
actual videos on this on YouTube. You can grow
Mhm.
if you're in an apartment. If you have a balcony, you can grow. But at any rate, I just wanted to say publicly again, thank you very much for the Parade of Gardens. I think that's a wonderful show that you got going on there.
So it's you're talking about penny stocks
Yep.
that will give you a 1,000% return, or 10,000 or 100,000. Let's put it this way: that is a bag of seed of kale.
Hmm.
That's all kale seed by the tens of thousands. Last year, when I was clearing out here, I threw kale seed in the seed that I put on the ground. Instead of grass seed, I was putting vegetable seeds. Cost me nothing,
Hmm.
and I've got enough kale seed right here to feed the city of New York. I kid you not. There's enough here. If I had enough room to put all of this in the dirt, I could feed the entire city of New York, all of Long Island,
Yep.
with kale. That's just a one example. So you know, if you talk about stocks, investing, gold and silver of a monetary aspect, why do you think I went into the most valuable stocks there are? Because I know at some point in the future, I will have the most valuable asset on the planet. So, you know, assuming that we don't get into a full Mad Max, T and I do the market. That's my market girl right there. I go out and grow it. She takes it to the market and sells it. And it costs us nothing but a little bit of time to put it in the ground. So for all of you who are in some kind of career, or you've had a job or something like that, and you're wanting to figure out how you can make money, if you got some dirt or the ability to grow, and you can not only feed yourself, your extra stuff is going to bring you a whole lot more money.
Yep. Agreed.
Am I
And
gone?
no, you're there.
And the time is right.
Yep. And I agree with you, Erin. And we've been talking about gardening on our channel for quite a while too, and a lot of us are doing gardens. In fact, I'd say more than half of us. And in fact, I'd like to encourage people to throw a fruit tree or two in your yard if you can. Very good idea. And they also take less care generally than a garden does. So, oh, Mike is showing
Yeah.
us his silver. He's got some kangaroos there. Oh no, is
Yeah,
that gold, Mike? Mike, is that a gold
Yeah,
now?
that's
no,
gold.
Oh, ho, ho.
Yeah, that's gold.
Mike is showing off.
Gold kangaroo.
Yeah.
yeah. And for clarity,
Yes, it's currency, not money.
no, you can grow food and trade it for whatever is still available or working, whether it's currency or money. We have sold food for silver. We have done that.
Yep.
So, you know, what works is what works.
Mhm.
And yeah, money is silver. Currency is paper
Mhm.
or digital. So it doesn't matter. The point is, it only costs you a few pennies or a little bit of time to go out there and dig and weed and plant and whatnot. But you want a guaranteed income, produce it.
Mhm. And I think that's a fine point that wasn't lost on anyone in here on several levels. Let me take it 2 or 3 dimensions deep, Erin. Amidst this madness that's going on in the world right now, and indeed the United States, Corona, with the riots that are going on right now, we're not just talking about that. What can you do? What can you do where you're at? Now, do you want to join the riots? Absolutely not. But what you can do for what's coming in the financial world is protect yourself. Erin was just talking about food. Mike was showing you gold and silver. These are actually, honest to God, time-proven methods that can help you survive. Food comes first, though. So, I mean, we're not just gloom and doom here, gang. Start your gardens, plant a tree, plant a fruit tree, get yourself some gold and silver if you can. Food comes first, though. I've always said that, and after that is water filtration, and then you can start concentrating on your money. But I've been into gardening for most of my life. I've been into gold and silver most of my life, and one thing I do want to. Mike's showing off more gold. Mike, what are you doing? What are you doing, Mike?
Nothing.
But I want to say something that may resonate with some people that are listening right now, as Mike is continuing to show off his gold. Is that going into this collapse with jobs disappearing, businesses? Oh, there we go. Yeah, see, we got two kinds of money right now on the screen. Going into this collapse, I'm not nervous. I don't have any anxiety because I've been preparing for years. Erin, you know what I'm talking about. However, you and I probably both know people that are feeling an enormous amount of anxiety that refuse to prepare. So it's incumbent upon us, I think, to nudge them in the right direction. If you guys know people that aren't doing gardens, that aren't getting gold and silver, share the videos. Let them know what other people are doing that don't have the anxiety. So, and shoot, if you've got enough money, throw in a little bit of cryptocurrency to hedge your gold and silver with. And by the way, put the vast majority of your money in gold and silver, specifically silver. And then put like 5% of what you put in gold and silver into crypto. We're not saying buy, a gob of crypto. We're not saying that. It's just a nice hedge. But go ahead, Erin.
Let me address cervix a lot. The other thing I would say is any good skill set. Oh, you ask, what about roofing? We are slammed this year. Yeah, if you got a skill set, people who are capable of doing things will have an easier time.
Yeah.
You may not get paid dollars, you may not get paid silver, but maybe you can trade your labor for some vegetables. Maybe you.
Yep.
So if you have a skill set, put it to use.
Yeah, I see David Burton.
That would be
things.
Go ahead.
If you can fix small engines, if you can, do any of these little things. I mean, it doesn't take a lot of talent. For some people, they got a lot of talent at mechanics and stuff. But you got to be like a jack of all trades. You got to be able to fix your electrical. You got to fix your plumbing.
Yep.
All right, so I got to interrupt again. I'm checking my son. I'm about ready to lose my power stream.
Okay.
So I've got to sit down here.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Erin and T. It was a pleasure having you guys with us. Hopefully, we could do more of these in the future. Mike is talking to his grandkids.
The big dog and the grandkids.
Okay.
I got to fix something.
So, but hopefully we could do more of these in the future, Erin. Especially when we have these events coming up, further events, market crashes, more riots. God forbid, where it actually turns into violent situations in these cities, and people start getting hurt and killed. But it's coming. It is coming. Everything's been building up to it. So, but at any rate,
there is a meme.
Yeah.
There is a meme that I've seen go around a handful of YouTube channels about now is a good time to carry in concealed.
Yeah.
If you're inside city limits,
and what are the other two pieces for?
Yep. Agreed.
Okay.
And I'm going to get out of here. I love everybody. Thank you so much for being a part of the conversation. This is teamwork, everyone.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Erin and T over there with the real Erin T. Scott. I put a link to her channel right in the comment section on YouTube. Please visit and subscribe to her channel. She does great stuff. And thank you again for joining us. You guys have a wonderful evening, and God bless you guys. Thank you again.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, we'll see ya. Okay, we'll continue on. I've unmuted Mike, and he had a little domestic thing going on there with the grandkids. But yeah, everything okay there, Mike?
I got to fix a chair. The kids broke the computer chair for my other granddaughter.
Okay, gotcha. And Erin also did a really good job of keeping up with the chat here on YouTube, and I did not. So I apologize to you guys. I know David Burden was chastising me because I was mixing up currency and money again. Thank you, David. I appreciate it, buddy. And I thank all of you for joining us today. That was really, really fun. And this was set up on a short-term notice. And once again, for all of you guys that came in today, it was awesome. We thank you very much. Okay, I'd like to thank Chaos Craig and D's Nuts, GFI with us, of course, Mike from Maine,
Anytime.
the Real Vessel, and even Wonder Woman was listening in as well, and we had a few others that have popped out of the chat since we started too. So thank you all for joining us. This has been great fun, and hopefully we'll be doing it again real soon with Aaron Scott, and maybe we can even get a few others to join us at some point. You guys all have a wonderful evening. May God bless each and every one of you.